The first time her daughters screamed like that, it was the night their father died. So when the sound tore through the snowy parking lot 3 years later, it didn't just stop Olivia Bennet in her tracks. It split her open. "Mom, stop! Please don't go!" The wind howled across the church steps, lifting her black wool coat and driving ice against her cheeks. Christmas Eve service had just ended. Families spilled into the glowing night, laughter and hymn fragments trailing behind them. Snow fell thick and steady, turning the world soft and white. Olivia had been halfway down the steps when she saw him, the man standing beside a stalled sedan under the flickering street lamp. The scarf around his neck was charcoal grey with thin navy stripes. Her husband's scarf. Her knees nearly buckled. "Mom!" Lily cried, her mittened hand yanking at Olivia's sleeve. "Don't!" Emma and Harper clung to her coat, identical faces pale, blue eyes wide with something deeper than confusion. Fear. Olivia couldn't breathe. 3 winters ago, she had wrapped that scarf around Daniel's neck herself before he left for a late shift at the hospital. He had kissed her forehead, promised to be home before midnight. A drunk driver had changed that promise forever. The scarf had been returned to her in a clear plastic bag with his wedding ring. She had buried both, or so she thought. Now a stranger stood in the snow wearing it. Her triplets were begging her not to walk toward him. But Olivia had never been good at walking away from hard things. She knelt in front of her daughters, pressing her trembling hands to their pink-cheeked faces. "I just need to talk to him," she whispered. "I promise I'm right here." They didn't let go. "Mom, what if he's mean?" Harper whispered. Olivia swallowed. "Then I'll still be right here." She stood and gently untangled herself from their grip. Each step toward the street lamp felt like stepping back into the worst night of her life. The man was bent over the open hood of his car, breath fogging in the cold. Snow collected on his dark hair and the shoulders of his worn coat. He looked up when her boots crunched against the pavement. For a second, neither of them spoke. Up close, she could see exhaustion carved into his face. Not cruelty, not threat, just bone-deep tiredness. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely steady. "That scarf. Where did you get it?" His hand instinctively rose to his neck. "This?" He glanced down at it. "A thrift store on Maple about a month ago. Why?" The world tilted. Maple Avenue was 2 blocks from the cemetery. Her fingers curled into her palms. "It belonged to my husband." The man froze. I didn't know," he said quickly. "I swear. I just needed something warm. It was $5. $5. Daniel had bought it during their first winter in Chicago, laughing because it was more than he should have spent back then. "It was buried with him," Olivia whispered. The man's brow furrowed in confusion. Then understanding dawned slowly and painfully. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I didn't dig up anything. I promise you that. I volunteer sometimes clearing old graves. When families can't afford maintenance, the city..." He hesitated. "Some items get removed if they're considered personal effects." The air left her lungs. Daniel had worked as an ER nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. He had believed in second chances, in helping people who couldn't pay him back. He would have hated the thought of anything valuable going to waste. Still, seeing it like this felt like losing him again. "I can give it back," the man said quickly, unwrapping it from his neck despite the biting wind. "Of course you can have it." He held it out with shaking hands. Behind her, Olivia heard the church doors open again. Someone laughed. A car engine started. The world kept moving. She stared at the scarf. Snowflakes melted into the fabric. And suddenly she saw something she hadn't before. The man's fingers were red and cracked from cold. His coat sleeve was torn at the cuff. The sedan behind him looked like it had survived a war. "Your car?" she asked quietly. "Dead battery," he admitted. "I was hoping someone had jumper cables. Guess not." Olivia looked back at the church. Families with SUVs and heated seats. She thought of her daughters waiting on the steps, watching. Kindness, Daniel used to say, isn't convenient. That's what makes it kindness. She closed her fingers over the scarf but didn't pull it away. "What's your name?" she asked. "Marcus Reed." "I'm Olivia." He nodded, shame flickering across his features. "I'll return it after Christmas. I don't have another one." Her chest tightened. She could take it. She could wrap it in tissue paper and store it in the cedar chest where she kept Daniel's watch and their wedding photos. Or she could see what her daughters were seeing, a cold man alone on Christmas Eve. "Keep it," she heard herself say. Marcus blinked. "What?" "Keep it," she repeated. "But let me give you a ride first. And we have jumper cables." His jaw fell open slightly. "You don't have to—" "I know," she said softly. "That's the point." The girls were silent during the drive. Olivia kept glancing at them in the rear-view mirror. Lily sat stiffly, arms crossed. Emma stared out the window. Harper leaned her forehead against the glass. Marcus sat in the passenger seat like he was afraid to breathe. "Thank you," he said quietly as they drove through the falling snow. "For the ride," he added quickly. Olivia nodded. They reached his car. She popped the trunk and handed him the cables. As he worked, Lily suddenly flung open her door and stomped into the snow. "Lily!" Olivia called, scrambling after her. The little girl marched straight up to Marcus, chin high. "That's my daddy's," she said fiercely, pointing at the scarf. Marcus crouched down so they were eye level. "I know," he said gently. "Your mom told me." "You can't just wear him," Lily insisted, her voice breaking. The words pierced Olivia's heart. Marcus swallowed hard. "You're right," he said. "I can't wear him." He removed the scarf again and held it carefully in both hands. "But I can remember him, if that's okay." Lily hesitated. "Why would you remember him?" she asked. Marcus looked up at Olivia before answering. "Because he must have been a good man. To have you three." Silence fell over the snowy street. Emma and Harper had joined them now. "He was," Emma whispered. Harper stepped forward. "He helped people," she added. Marcus nodded slowly. "Then I think he'd want someone who's cold to be warm." Olivia felt tears blur her vision. Daniel would have said exactly that. The car roared to life. The sound felt like something more than an engine turning over. It felt like something restarting inside her. Marcus stood, brushing snow from his knees. "I work mornings at the community center on Ashland," he said carefully. "If you ever want it back." "I'll be there." Olivia looked at her daughters. They were watching her now, not with fear, but with something else. Trust. "Why don't you come for dinner tomorrow?" she asked suddenly. Marcus stared at her like she'd spoken another language. "Dinner?" "It's Christmas," she said simply. "No one should eat alone." The next evening, Marcus arrived with a small grocery store pie and an awkward smile. The girls eyed him cautiously at first. But children are experts at sensing truth, and by dessert, Lily was explaining her science project while Emma and Harper argued over who got to show him their dad's old stethoscope. Olivia watched from the kitchen doorway. For the first time in years, the house felt full without feeling broken. After dinner, Harper tugged Marcus toward the living room where Daniel's framed photograph rested on the mantel. "That's him," she said proudly. Marcus studied the photo. Daniel's smile was wide and unguarded. The scarf was wrapped around his neck. "He looks like someone who'd give a stranger jumper cables," Marcus said softly. Olivia laughed through tears. Later, when the girls were tucked into bed, she found Marcus standing by the front door. "You don't have to give it back," she said, nodding toward the scarf. He shook his head. "I want to." He carefully folded it and placed it in her hands. "It kept me warm when I didn't have much," he said. "But I think it's meant to keep something else warm now." Olivia pressed it to her chest. "You're welcome here," she said. He hesitated. "Even if I'm just the guy from the snow?" She smiled faintly. "Especially then." Over the next months, Marcus became part of their Saturdays. He fixed the loose cabinet hinge Daniel had meant to repair. He taught the girls how to change a tire. He never once tried to replace what wasn't his to replace. One afternoon, Lily asked him the question Olivia had been afraid of. "Do you miss someone too?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "My little sister," he finally said. "She passed away 2 years ago, cancer." The room softened around them. Grief recognized grief. It wasn't about replacing. It was about understanding. The following winter, on the anniversary of Daniel's death, Olivia stood at the cemetery with her daughters. Snow fell gently, just like it had that night on the church steps. Marcus stood a respectful distance behind them. Olivia wrapped the grey scarf around the headstone. For a moment she felt the old ache rise. Then she felt 3 small hands slip into hers, and a quiet, steady presence at her back. Loss had taken something from her, but kindness had given something back. Not a replacement, not a rewrite, but a reminder that love doesn't end where life does. It changes hands, it travels, it keeps people warm in the coldest places. As they turned to leave, Lily looked up at Marcus. "You can wear it again," she said solemnly. "Daddy wouldn't mind." Marcus's eyes shone. Olivia met his gaze over their daughters' heads. In the soft hush of falling snow, she understood something Daniel had tried to teach her all along. We don't hold on to love by clutching it tightly. We honor it by letting it move. And on a winter evening that once threatened to break her, a single mom and her triplets walked home beside a single dad, who had once stood alone in the snow, all of them warmer than they had been before,